I'm gonna be honest, I do not like expensive backpacks. And this is an expensive backpack. So why in the world am I showing you this today? Why am I even making this video? Because I think this might be the one that actually changes my mind about them. This is the new Daily Carry Pro from Tortuga, and it's meant to be kind of like a multi-purpose backpack, from a personal item sized travel backpack to an everyday carry and like a work bag. For me, this actually checks a lot of the boxes for bags that I like, but I have been burnt in the past by expensive backpacks, and I actually find a lot of them to be way over-engineered. Too many pockets, too many features, too many just stuff going on that solve very niche problems. Because of that, I am always very skeptical when it comes to these expensive bags, because the risk for buyer's remorse is just like so high. But when Tortuga reached out to me and asked if I wanted to look at this before the launch, I agreed, but to be honest, I did not expect to like it. However, this surprised me, and I'm gonna tell you why. Now, I always start these videos talking about the size and weight of these bags because this is really important when you're trying to pick a personal item sized backpack. In the US, the common restrictions are 18 by 14 by 8 inches, but as you leave and go out of the US, these restrictions tend to get a little bit smaller, going down to even 16 by 12 by 6 inches, which is significantly smaller than the US requirements. That's like 2 inches in each dimension. Assuming you don't overstuff this bag, it comes in at 18 by 12 by 7.5 inches, which is well within the requirements for most personal items on US airlines. However, this is bigger than the ones for international airlines. And so I actually wanted to look at it to see how flexible it is, because if it's flexible enough, it can be squished down to fit within those dimensions, so long as it's not absolutely stuffed to the brim. And this is what I've done for other backpacks in the past. Now, you could easily do that with this one. The only thing that might be holding it back is this back panel. It is a firm back panel, but it can be bent down, and I was able to squish it to fit 16 inches relatively easily. So if you're typically traveling outside the US, I think you can make this work, so long as you're prepared to underpack it. If you are an overpacker, I would not suggest this for traveling as a personal item outside the US, though as a carry-on, you could take it anywhere. I try to keep all of my bags around 1 kilogram or less in weight, and this one comes in at 1.2 kilograms. I do not like carrying a heavy backpack, and so when I packed this out, this came to, I think, about 8.5 kilograms. And I actually want to show you how I packed this, because this will show you the pockets and the layout of the bag as well. If you're curious about the things I typically pack in my carry-on for a trip, I've put together this little guide. It's totally free. I'll leave a link in the description or a QR code that you can scan on the screen if you want access to this. But that pretty much has everything that I'm gonna put in this bag. Before we continue, I have to say this actually reminded me of another bag I tried recently that was expensive that I didn't really like, which was the Air Travel Pack 3 in small. But one thing I did like about it was all of the pockets and organization, especially in the front panel. And as we're packing this, you're gonna see that this also has a lot of organization too. But first, let's go into the main compartment, because that's where I put most of my stuff. So I had no problem fitting all of my usual items inside. I slid my favorite compression cube into the bottom, and then to the side of that, I had plenty of space to put my tripod and my straightener. And then above that, I placed my toiletries, my little makeup bag, and then some other small miscellaneous things like an adapter, medicine, these things called cakes, which are like kind of, I use in place of a padded bra, and then some jewelry as well. On top of that, I also like to put my fanny pack, because while I use this on my trip, I try to keep everything inside the bag at the airport, so there's no issues when it comes to gate agents who may not like that I'm carrying a fanny pack as well as a personal item. Now, with that completed, it's time to organize all of my other little stuff that I would typically either keep for my laptop, my tech, inside my sling, just all these like little things that can get lost easily in the bag. And that is where all of these organization pockets come in. There is a large flat front pocket, and there's a couple smaller ones at the top. In this, I put like my wired headphones, my power bank, my 2 cords that I bring, and then there's no pockets below the lower half, but you can still use the entire space. So at the bottom, I added my power strip that I take on trips as well. And then there's actually 2 more front organization pockets as well. Once you close this one, there is a quick access pocket on the top. It's like a small pouch. So this is where I took all the stuff that I would typically keep in my fanny pack and place them there, like my wallet, my lip gloss, my phone tripod, things like that. And then And then to the side of the bag, there's actually another large front pocket. The zipper on this one is a little bit hidden, so you might not notice it at first, but this is where I put my Kindle and my mask, though I could easily put these inside the other kind of admin panel pocket too. I was just very excited to see that there's a lot of flat organization on here. Moving along to the side of the bag, there are water bottle pockets on both sides. So whether you want to use those for an umbrella, a water bottle, maybe extra shoes, you have those, as well as 3 carrying handles, one on the top and one on each side. And then we go to the very back, which is the laptop kind of tech pocket. This has 2 sleeves, one for a laptop up to, I think, 16 inches. If that's wrong, I'll correct it. And then a tablet sleeve that fits one up to 12.9 inches. And then one more tiny little pocket at the top where you could put little bits and bobs and cords. Moving along to the back panel, we have a luggage pass-through that is a little bit different than ones I've seen before. I am so incredibly happy that this is sideways because, it makes such a big difference to have a sideways luggage pass-through. But this one actually passes the handlebar of your suitcase behind the pack panel rather than including some kind of like fabric loop. It was a little difficult for me to get on there at first. However, once I got the hang of it, it was easy enough. And then that's about all there is as far as pockets. The straps do have a sternum strap for a little extra stability and support, but there are no compression straps on the outside and there is no security pocket. I personally don't like to use security pockets. I typically keep things in a small fanny pack at the airport or when I'm out and about that I keep at the front of me. So this is not something I'm typically looking for, but if you do like security pockets, just be aware that those are not on here, nor are outer compression straps. I also want to talk about some of the materials and how it looks because this is an expensive bag. Like I said, I am not a huge fan of expensive bags. I tend to prefer cheap ones in general, but when you buy cheap bags, the quality of the materials is typically one of the first things to go. And so that is one of the things I noticed on this, is that it is obviously much nicer built than the bags I usually like. It has a sleek outside fabric. You can see there's a slight grid pattern, I'm assuming to prevent any kind of rips or tears. Looking at the description, this is a waterproof, rip resistant sailcloth, I think. Anyway, it's supposed to be very durable. And then the zippers are quite nice as well. They are YKK and they have a coating on them to make them water resistant. So if you were to get caught in some kind of rain, the fabric itself is waterproof and then the zippers are water resistant. So they should keep out a lot of that water until you can actually go and take shelter. I have to say the bag does feel quite nice and high quality, so I will give them that. Especially considering it is an expensive bag, that is something I would expect. Despite that build quality, this is incredibly comfortable and I think it looks good too. It kind of reminds me of the Air Travel Pack 3 combined with another one of my favorite bags, which is the Almond Oak Travel Backpack. And that's because it has the organization of the Air, but it has the sleek kind of minimalist look that the Almond Oak bag has. This is one of my biggest complaints that I had with the Air Travel Pack 3 was that it was well built, but oh my God, that bag was heavy. And so initially when I picked this up after packing it, I thought it was also going to feel heavy and I got very nervous, but that's because the top handle isn't padded. So I felt a lot of that weight. But as soon as I put it on my back, oh my God, this thing is comfortable. I love these straps and I love this back panel. It's rather than like a stiff padding, it's almost like a gel cell structure. We have a purple mattress in one of our rooms and it has this like egg crate shape. It reminds me of that. So it is very comfortable, but it's also very breathable. I do these bag tests in typically 80, 85 degree weather with 80% humidity. So I am pretty much sweating all the time. I put this on, I don't get hot at all. It feels very comfortable. And so for that, I have to give it major points. I really, really like that. It also looks very sleek and I don't think it's very bulky when I'm wearing it. Looking at some of the photos on the website, it looks really big, even on the smaller models, but you can see from this video, I don't think it's overwhelming on my body. I'm 5'4", about 135 pounds, and I also have a short torso. So sometimes if the bag goes really far out, it can just look crazy on me, and it also draws the attention of gate agents, and they're like, you need to put this in the sizer. But I found this one fit my torso really well and didn't look super boxy, though it does have a more square shape. And so before we get to price, I want to talk more about these little small details that changed my mind about these bags. Looking at the inside, I love that it is in this like light gray, almost white color, because that means whether you're opening it and digging through the top at the airport, or it's under the seat in front of you and you're trying to find something inside, it's not like you're digging into a black hole when you try to grab something out. So I absolutely love that. That is such a small feature that I really like. Another small detail is that all of these organization pockets are at the top of the bag. And this is something that I have noticed over time, is that when I am carrying these bags, obviously all of my stuff falls to the bottom once it's on my back, which leaves more space at the top that isn't really fully utilized. So by having those organization pockets typically be fitted at the top, whether that's in the admin panel, the quick access pocket, or even that small one in the laptop area, that fills in the gap that just naturally occurs when you're using a backpack as things fall to the bottom. So another little detail I really like. Finally, like I said, I just love that this not only like looks nice and is lightweight, but it is so comfortable. I was trying it on and I had my partner try it on at the same time, and I'm pretty sure he's about to try to like steal this away from me. You are someone like me that is annoyed with heavy backpacks, doesn't like when they feel uncomfortable. I think you are really, really gonna like how I don't know, it's just so comfortable to carry. Which brings us to the price. Like I said, this is an expensive bag, so I might as well just get to it. This bag at the retail price comes in at $250. Ooh, which, saying that, makes my heart race a little bit. There is a promotional price for the launch of this. For the first week up until November 2nd, you can take about $50 off, bringing this down to $199. However, this is only for a limited amount of time. If you purchase it during that time and then you leave a review of it before later in November, then you also get a $50 coupon that you can use on the Black Friday sales. So if you know that you're going to be purchasing stuff from the site already, you can kind of save about $100 on the price of this bag, but it is for a limited amount of time. Typically, it is priced at $250. I have to say, this bag really, really surprised me. I didn't want to like it. I didn't want to recommend it just because it is so expensive, but I love it. I honestly think for future trips, this will probably be one of the bags that we reach for first. You know, I got a whole closet of them, but this one just stands out. Now, I would love to hear what my fellow frugal travelers think in the comments. It surprised me. I'm curious if you think it is worth the price. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you all next time. Bye, guys. Oh, I'm not, it's too far away. Okay.